A very good evening and a warm welcome to our episode Law and Order this weekend. And now, in order to begin today's discussion, we would like to bring your attention to the fact that law and order usually focuses on different aspects of law, different aspects of human rights, and also reconciliation. And today we are going to discuss about a public office which does an immense service to the people of Sri Lanka, which is historic in nature and unfortunately not discussed among the public sphere as it needs to be discussed. So we are more than happy to welcome to our studio at Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation, Mr. Sanath Weeraratne, President's Counsel, and the Public Trustee of the Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka. A very good evening to you, sir.
Good evening to you, Shahara. Thank you.
So it's a great pleasure to have you here. And certainly, when we talk about the Public Trustees Department, it's not a department which a common citizen encounters in his day-to-day life. However, the Public Trustees Department does a massive service to the people of Sri Lanka. So in that context, I would like to ask you a very open-ended question. What exactly is the Public Trustees Department and what is its history?
First and foremost, Shahara, thank you so much for inviting us for this evening's edition of Law and Order and giving us the opportunity. I must start off in a very broad sense in terms of the services the Public Trustee of Sri Lanka does, and in saying so, I have to go back to the concept as to how it started. The Public Trustees concept initially started in the world in 1873 in New Zealand, and the concept is based on the premise that the office of the Public Trustee is, or the person who holds the position of the Public Trustee is considered to be the most independent, most transparent, unbiased, non-political person, and most trustworthy, most importantly. So based on that premise, the concept got off the ground in Sri Lanka in 1930, I beg your pardon, under the Public Trustees Ordinance, which came into operation in 1922. So we have a history of 89 years. And in very simple and lay terms, the powers, the obligations, and the services of the Public Trustee are all set down in Section 5 of the Public Trustees Ordinance. So in rough terms, or in lay terms, without going into too much technicality, the Public Trustee has the power to act as a trustee or the custodian trustee, if appointed by the district court, also to take care of properties of people of unsound mind, minors, and also people who are overseas as a custodian of their property, and also in terms of minors or people who are unable to manage their own affairs. In doing so, also the Public Trustee also has the powers to administer compensation received on behalf of people who have been employed overseas, and if they have succumbed to unfortunate situations where their life has been taken by way of accidents. Any compensations paid by those countries or those entities where these our citizens have been employed, those compensations are also paid through the Ministry of Employment and Foreign Services. It gets filtered through the Public Trustee, and the Public Trustee does the relevant checks and disburses those funds. Another one of the services which a Public Trustee does is also in relation to acquisitions by the government or any institution. For example, the RDA or any government authority has acquired property belonging to Buddhist temples. That compensation money is also disbursed at the direction of the Buddhist Affairs Commissioner by the Public Trustee. So in terms of if you are talking about the services which the Public Trustee does, the Public Trustee wears a few hats, so as to speak. One is what I briefly explained, which are the functions and the duties which come under Section 5, which are the ones that I just mentioned before, Shahara. In addition to that, the Public Trustee also functions in relation to creating trusts, whether it's a charitable trust or a private trust or a public trust, where the public trustee gets involved in relation to being the trustee or the custodian trustee of such trust created at the discretion of the person who creates the trust, which is called as a settlor. So that is another hat which the public trustee wears. Also, the public trustee manages estates or properties which have been assigned to the public trustee for the purpose of the management of those trusts. And in doing so, the people who, the great philanthropists who have vested those properties with the public trustee, in doing so, have specified certain objectives to be carried out from the profits which are generated from the management of those properties. So the public trustee also has an obligation to fulfill those. So that is another aspect. And in doing so, invariably flows another aspect, which is a big part of the public trustee's function, which is, for example, say, if I can explain to you by way of an example, there are certain great philanthropists of this country. I'll mention them a bit later in the program. So they left the entirety of their wealth with the public trustee in faith of the public trustee, and in doing so, they have also stipulated certain specific objectives to be carried out. For example, religious donations. For example, educational donations for people who are children who are destitute, or religious donations. So those donations, we carry out them according to the wishes of the set law, only restricted very strictly to the objectives of those set laws. So in doing so, we provide a service to the public as well. So in a broad sense, I would say, yes, functions which are under the Public Trustees Ordinance Section 5, and secondly, in terms of creating trusts and managing trusts and or properties which are handed over to the public trustee for the purpose of management.
Certainly a wide variety of services taken up by the public trustees department.
Definitely.
I would also ask you a question which is a follow-up rather to my first question. As the public trustee of Sri Lanka, what role do you see the public trustees department playing in the current society practically?
Good question, Shah, because it is an institution where we come under the Justice Ministry. We are one of the 13 departments which come under the Ministry of Justice and Prison Reforms. But we are governed by the Public Trustees Ordinance and also the Trust Ordinance. So the role that we play is, yes, in terms of people who are unable to manage their properties or their estates or their funds, the public trustee is the institution which the court empowers to take over. So we virtually get into the shoes of a person who is unable to manage their own affairs. So to that extent, there is a big responsibility which the public trustee pays in terms of doing a service to the society. And also in terms of people who are unable to, they have left their estates. When we say estates in a local context, we're thinking of land and property, which is probably more palatable to us as Sri Lankans. So we manage those as well, in addition to the duties which fall under the Public Trustees Ordinance. And a new thing which we have started now, Shahar, is this is subsequent to a couple of the observation tours I've done in relation to countries where this concept is beautifully streamlined and works with absolute transparency. We have started the service of providing the free will-making service, which we started a couple of months ago. And so that's another service which we are doing now to the public.
So I think that's something quite new for me as well. Could you elaborate on that service as well?
Sure.
Because I think a lot of Sri Lankan citizens find law to be a bit inaccessible and expensive
Yes.
for the general public. So if the Public Trustees Department is providing a service of that nature, I think it will be of great relief for people who might not be able to afford legal services and who might be looking forward to writing his own last will.
Yes, Shara, up to now, for the last 88 years, what the public trustee was empowered and has restricted him or herself to do was to hold wills written by public purely for the purpose of safe custody. For a mere payment of 100 rupees, we have been storing the last wills in our safe custody lockers, which is authorized under the Act, under Section 38 of the Act. But when I did a study tour of a couple of the public trustee structures in Australia last year and beginning of this year, I realized that we could do something further, which has no restriction in terms of the public trustee being able to do that, which is to provide the service of writing out the last will free of charge for a person. Of course, if you want a last will written, obviously what you'll do is you'll go to a private lawyer. I mean, it's not something which is going to cost you an arm and a leg, but perhaps if it is a service which the public trustee of the country is providing free of charge, that gives the public more accessibility, that gives the public more sense of security, because you are going to the public trustee to get the last will written. And also, the public trustee is always receptible to be appointed as the executor of the last will. So you can come to the public trustee and say, Mr. Public Trustee, I want my last will written, and we will take your instructions and we will provide that service within a day completely free of charge. There is no charge at all. And you are at liberty to either name the public trustee as the executor or name anyone of whom you wish as the executor. And then we go a bit beyond that in relation to if you want to take that away with you, yes, you can take that away. You can deposit that with whom you trust for the purpose of safe custody, or you can deposit it with the public trustee. So that is a service which I think will benefit, and that has had a lot of inquiries, and a few people have come and made use of that service from us. Up to now, I'm glad to say. And this is done, if I can use an example, Shahara, in Queensland, which is just one state in Australia. They have a population of 6 million people only in the state of Queensland. And their statistics showed last year they have written something like 29,000 last wills. 29,000 last wills out of a population of 6 million people in that state. And out of that 29 million, 93% named the public trustee as the executor in those last wills. So it's the services we provide to the public, plus because we are a government department, yes, the employees are being paid by the Treasury. Yes, we remit a charge to the Treasury, so it's an income for the government. So we are providing a service not only to the state, but also to the public.
And also, sir, the Public Trustees Department has been working on many avenues for many decades. However, the understanding about these services among the general public is relatively poor. Is there a reason for it? And are there any measures taken under your leadership to remedy this situation?
You are being very kind with your words, Shahara. Not relatively, I think it's been extremely at a low level, I should say. One example I can give you is in the citizenship protocol. If you take the public trustee is considered to be the 8th citizen of the country. You get number 1 citizen, which is the president of the country, number 2 the prime minister, number 3 the honorable speaker, number 4 the chief justice, number 5 the attorney general, number 6 the leader of the opposition, number 7 the auditor general, number 8 is the public trustee. But if you take a random sample of any 100 people of the country, 99 of them would not know who the public trustee is. The reason for that is my personal view again, for whatever unexplained reasons, the services and the powers and the duties what the public trustee has, as it is done in other parts of the world where this noble concept is practiced with absolute transparency, absolute accountability. When I say transparency, what I am referring to here is absolute financial transparency, Shahara, has not been brought out. That is a shame. It's probably a flaw in the system. I'm not pointing a finger to any particular person or persons. So that is a huge downside. So what we have done, I assumed duties on the 30th of May 2017, and I have made this one of my primary concerns in terms of taking it out to the public, making the public aware of what we do. And in doing so, I must also say, Shahara, public trustee is a place where, I mean, you know why you would want to go to the Attorney General's office. You would know why you would want to go to the Parliament. You would know why you would want to go and meet the Chief Justice before the Supreme Court. But why would a person come before the public trustee? The question lies there. So in terms of that, if a person wants to keep his or her last will, the entire earnings of a person's lifetime, you wouldn't do that when you go past driving Buller's Lane and you see public trustee, that's public trustee's office, so I'm going to go and keep my last will there. Unless the department has a very good goodwill, a history where where accountability has been displayed. So that is the stumbling block we have, to be quite honest. So what we are trying to do now is to draw a line in the sand and say bygones are bygones. Going forwards, make this department more transparent, make this institution more transparent, and in doing so,
more people friendly.
More people friendly.
Yeah.
More people friendly, and one of which is the free last will service which we commenced, and also down the line, we do have ideas or thoughts which we have placed with the authorities, which is the Secretary Minister of Justice, that we should perhaps look at opening up branches of the Public Trustees Department. Because in my view, if somebody who is living in Jaffna has to come down all the way to Colombo to get a donation or to open a last will, I think that's not providing a service. Similarly, somebody from down south has to come up. So I don't see any reason why we can't go to that next stage of opening branches or regional offices. So that's also on the cards. So we are in the process of looking at implementing those measures as well.
And also, so that brings me to the next question which I had in mind, but you answered half of it, I guess. What do you think the Public Trustees Department should do in the future? And what role should it play in the future, ideally, in your vision, for the Public Trustees Department?
Ideally, Shahara, public trustee is the public trustee. Public trustee should be serving all members of the public. Now, public trustee is not, I know if you look at the logistics of our country, 93% of Sri Lankans are Buddhists. But the public trustee is not only for the Buddhist people of the country. Then if that was the case, it should be called the Buddhist trustee. Public trustee should be equal to all ethnicities, all religions. And public trustee is not a political person. Then if it was the case, you would call it the political trustee, right? So the important distinction I would like to draw here is the public trustee should be absolutely independent, absolutely unbiased, absolutely transparent, i.e. financial transparency, and then carry out objectives of people, these great philanthropists who were left properties in the trust with the public trustee in terms of what they wanted done, not anything else. I mean, in saying so, Shahar, I have to mention a particular name that all of us know of, Sir D.B. Jatileka. Whenever I do a program anything to do with the Department of Public Trustee, I recall Sir D.B. with a lot of gratitude. For the simple reason, it is thanks to him that the concept commenced in our country. He was a pioneer person who started this concept. All of us know who Sir D.B. Jatileka was. And he went one step further. Not only in his official capacity as a great leader, ambassador of our country, he also donated his personal property, his private property, which is where we are housing the Public Trustee's office, which was this sometime back. And actually this is not current as well, but this is what it looked like 6 months ago. It's changed a bit more now.
There's a considerable facelift.
I think so. I think so. I mean, this great philanthropist, he left this invaluable property in the trust of the public trustee. I mean, he was the first Sri Lanka to be knighted, first ambassador to India from Sri Lanka. And he did not trust anyone else, but he trusted the concept of the public trustee. He gifted this valuable property, and he said in his last will, as long as the concept of the public trustee operates in the country, that it should operate from this premises. Such noble thoughts he had. Not only that, he also gifted another valuable, nearly 100-acre coconut estate in the Kurunegala district, again for the public trustee. And this was done in 1944. It was followed by great philanthropists during his time who were contemporaries or friends of his. Like, for example, Gate Mudliya de Silva Vijayasinghe, who built the iconic Richmond Castle in Kadutara. Again, he followed suit and he gifted his mansion to the public trustee. People like Mr. Samarakon, who was a great philanthropist and a very rich person who gifted entirety of his estate, who lived in the Piliyandali area. Mohandiram Jayavikrama, another great philanthropist from Hambantota, who gifted 264 acres of his paddy to the public trustee. So people in that era followed suit after Sir D.B. commenced this. So that was because, in my personal view, again, Shah, because people at that time had a lot of trust and faith in the system of the public trustee.
Certainly, sir. And before we wind up today's episode, we have about 2 minutes more. I would like to ask you one simple question. What is your final message to the general public of Sri Lanka as the public trustee?
Well, in simple terms, I would say, come speak to us, find out more about us. If you have any questions, we are accessible through our website now, and look up the concept, how it has been adhered and practiced in countries where it started, in countries like New Zealand, Australia, UK, USA, India, Hong Kong, and how noble the concept is. We have restructured the whole department. We have 2 deputy public trustees whom we have designated their duties. So it's a properly structured, very transparent, non-political, unbiased service which we provide pursuant to the Act. So come talk to us, and we are there to help the public. And if you are a person who is in need of any legitimate donations, either be medical, educational, or charitable, if those people or the institutions meet the requirements, we are there to consider.
Thank you very much. And now with that, we conclude today's episode of Law and Order. And Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation is more than grateful to Mr. Sanathvir Ratna, the President's Counsel, and the Public Trustee of Sri Lanka for taking his time to be here with us at the Law and Order program today. Thank you very much, sir. And we also wish you the very best for the great work you do with the Public Trustees Department in progressing forward and to make it a more people-friendly and a more transparent organization. So all the very best, sir, with all that work. So
Thank you, Sharon.
with that, we conclude today's Law and Order program with the hope of meeting you next week. We wish you a good night.